When the power goes out and the world around you starts to unravel, the biggest threat isn't chaos in the streets. It's the people living right next door. Hunger, thirst, and desperation turn neighbors into rivals faster than you think. And the everyday items sitting quietly in your home today will become high-value targets tomorrow. In this video, I'm breaking down the everyday essentials you'll need to guard at all costs once the blackout hits. Stay sharp, stay hidden, and let's get into it. 8. Seeds, the blueprint of tomorrow's survival. When the lights go out and grocery shelves sit bare for weeks, those who thought ahead with seeds will suddenly hold the power of renewal in their hands. Seeds aren't just tiny specks you toss into the dirt. They're time capsules of food security, capable of producing harvest after harvest if you've chosen heirloom, non-GMO varieties. Unlike hybrid seeds that often can't be replanted, heirloom seeds guarantee continuity, meaning your small bag of beans today can become a thriving food supply tomorrow. In 2023, global seed prices rose by more than 14% due to supply chain disruptions and climate instability, and that was while the system was still functioning. Now imagine those numbers after a blackout shuts down logistics for good. Seeds aren't just food, they're independence, insurance against starvation. Think about this. A pound of dry beans can cost you a couple bucks today, but with the right seeds, you could produce 20 to 30 pounds of beans every single season. That's not just survival, that's wealth. And don't underestimate how quickly desperate eyes will turn to your stash. Seeds are lightweight, portable, and priceless, making them an irresistible target for neighbors who once shared their zucchini bread with you but now see those seeds as their child's next meal. Protecting them means airtight containers, hidden caches, and practicing now so your first attempt at gardening isn't during chaos. Because once your neighbors realize you can keep producing food while they scavenge stale crackers, they won't see seeds, they'll see salvation. And salvation attracts danger. Guard them like your life depends on it, because eventually it will. Throughout history, empires rose and fell on the strength of salt. Roman soldiers were literally paid in it, hence the word salary, and wars have been fought over this mineral that we now casually toss over our fries. In a blackout, salt will once again transform from cheap seasoning into one of the most vital survival commodities. Here's why. Your body requires sodium to regulate fluid levels and nerve function, but that's just the beginning. Without refrigeration, preserving meat, fish, and even vegetables becomes impossible without salt. 1 pound of salt can preserve 10 pounds of pork for months, and that makes it equivalent to food storage gold. In 2024, the average American consumed nearly 3,400 milligrams of sodium daily, far above the recommended intake. That demand won't vanish. It'll intensify when people realize their diet now consists of bland grains and beans. And here's the twist. Unlike beans or rice, salt doesn't spoil. Properly stored in sealed buckets or jars, it will last indefinitely, making it one of the smartest stockpiles you can own. The danger? It's heavy, which means few people stockpile large amounts. That scarcity will make your neighbors desperate the moment their food starts spoiling, or their children complain of dizziness from sodium deficiency. Guarding your salt supply isn't just about hiding it, it's about diversifying its forms. Keep table salt for cooking, rock salt for preservation, and even Epsom salt for medical uses. And never underestimate its barter power. A handful of salt could trade for meat, firewood, or protection in a post-collapse economy. When your neighbor's jerky starts rotting, they'll remember the bags of salt you casually bought months ago. And trust me, they'll come knocking. Life-saving medications, the real black market gold. Forget diamonds, forget gold bars. In a blackout, the true black market treasures will be medications. Think about how many people in your neighborhood rely on daily prescriptions, blood pressure pills, insulin, thyroid medication, inhalers, antidepressants. According to the CDC, nearly 60% of U.S. adults take at least one prescription drug regularly, and 15% take 5 or more. The moment pharmacies go dark, every single one of those people becomes desperate. A simple bottle of antibiotics, worth a few dollars today, could mean the difference between life and death tomorrow when an infected cut turns deadly. And it's not just prescription meds. Over-the-counter items like ibuprofen, antihistamines, and cough syrup will vanish within days of a blackout. Now here's the terrifying part. People don't just want them, they need them. A father watching his child wheeze without an inhaler won't politely knock on your door, he'll break it down. That makes your medicine stash both a lifeline and a liability. Protecting it means stealth. Never brag about having extras, never flash your stock, and always divide it into hidden caches. Store them properly. Cool, dark, and moisture-free. Heat destroys potency, so think basements, Mylar bags, or even clay pot coolers if refrigeration is lost. And if you manage to secure long-term supplies, consider discretion in bartering. Offering meds makes you both valuable and vulnerable, so only trade tiny amounts under controlled conditions. In a collapsed society, one bottle of antibiotics is worth more than gold because gold can't save a life, but a pill can. And when your neighbors realize you can provide what the empty pharmacy can't, you'll no longer be just a neighbor, you'll be a target with a bullseye painted on your back. Cooking oil, the overlooked liquid gold. If you think cooking oil is just about frying eggs, you're dangerously underestimating its value in a blackout. Oil is fat, and fat equals energy, something the human body craves when food supplies dwindle. A tablespoon of vegetable oil contains around 120 calories, making it one of the most calorie-dense, easily stored items you can stockpile. In survival mode, that's not just food, that's fuel for the body. And here's what most people don't realize. Fat is the first nutrient to vanish when supply chains collapse. Grains and beans might fill stomachs, but without fat, malnutrition sets in fast, leading to weakness, brain fog, and even organ failure. Beyond nutrition, oil is multifunctional. It seasons cast iron cookware, lubricates squeaky tools or firearms, and doubles as lamp fuel for improvised lighting. Historically, oil lamps lit entire civilizations before electricity, and they'll do it again when batteries run out. The catch? Oil spoils. Rancid oil not only tastes vile, but can cause digestive distress, making storage critical. Coconut oil lasts the longest, up to 2 years, while olive and vegetable oils break down faster, unless kept airtight, cool, and dark. And this is where your neighbors come in. The smell of frying food is a flare in the night sky. It travels far and screams, "We have resources." In 2025, with food inflation still soaring, expect oil prices to spike even higher in shortages, making your hidden bottles worth more than cash. Protecting oil means stealth cooking, lids on pots, meals made indoors, and stock hidden in places no one expects, like detergent boxes or sealed buckets labeled as yard chemicals. Once people realize you're the only one still frying potatoes while they chew cold beans, they won't see cooking oil. They'll see hope, and hope is something they'll fight for. 4. Batteries, the power brokers of a dark world. When the blackout drags on and the silence of dead electronics sets in, batteries will become the unspoken currency of survival. Think about it. The average American household owns 28 battery-powered devices, from flashlights to smoke detectors to medical machines. But here's the kicker. Most people only keep a couple of packs lying around, and once those run dry, desperation takes over. In 2024, the global battery market passed $120 billion, fueled by our insatiable hunger for portable power. Yet in a grid-down scenario, those shelves will empty overnight, and suddenly that pack of AAs you forgot in your junk drawer becomes more valuable than jewelry. Your neighbors won't care about Bitcoin or bank balances. They'll care about keeping a radio alive to hear evacuation orders, or lighting up a room so their kids stop crying in the dark. That makes your stash of batteries not just useful, but dangerous. They're small, portable, and easy to steal, perfect loot. Protecting them means concealment, redundancy, and foresight. Split them into multiple stashes, some in obvious spots as decoys with dead batteries on top, the rest sealed in mylar with silica gel tucked away in forgotten corners of your home. Better yet, invest in solar chargers and rechargeable batteries, because even if you start with a mountain of disposables, one day it will run out. With a solar charger, your D-cells or AAAs become a renewable resource, making you the rare survivor who isn't just burning through supplies but regenerating them. And here's a chilling thought. In a barter economy, a single working 9-volt could mean the difference between total silence and the crackle of a radio delivering life-saving news. Your neighbors will know this too, and they'll come looking. Protect your batteries like they're bars of gold, because in the dark, they're worth far more. 3. Fuel, fire in the belly of collapse. When the grid goes silent, it's not food that fails first, it's the means to cook it. Without propane, charcoal, butane, or even seasoned firewood, that carefully hoarded rice and beans are little more than bird food. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, over 60% of households rely on natural gas for cooking and heating. Cut the power, and those pipelines stop pushing pressure within hours. That means millions of families suddenly staring at raw food in shivering rooms. Your neighbors won't think of this until the panic sets in, but once they see smoke rising from your chimney or smell stew simmering on your rocket stove, you've just painted a target on your property. Fuel is both consumable and portable, a double threat. A 20-pound propane tank fits neatly in a backpack. A bag of charcoal can vanish in seconds. That portability makes your stockpile incredibly vulnerable. Protecting it requires camouflage and diversity. Don't leave neat firewood stacks in plain sight. Break them up, scatter them behind sheds, under tarps, or mixed with brush. Store propane tanks in inconspicuous containers, or label storage bins as holiday decorations or old paint. And don't rely on just one method. Solar ovens, alcohol stoves, and rocket stoves offer quiet, smokeless alternatives that don't broadcast hot meal here to a starving neighborhood.
In fact, solar cookers are already gaining popularity worldwide, with NGOs distributing thousands to areas hit by energy poverty. In collapse, they'll become priceless. Remember, fire is life, but fire is also a beacon. If you can cook discreetly and diversify your fuel, you'll survive longer than those whose smoke signals lead neighbors straight to their door with empty pots and hungry eyes. Here's the brutal truth. You can live weeks without food, but 3 days without water and your organs begin shutting down. In 2025, the American Society of Civil Engineers gave the U.S. drinking water infrastructure a grade of C, warning of widespread vulnerability even before any blackout. The second the power grid collapses, municipal pumps stop pushing pressure, faucets sputter, taps run dry, and reservoirs drain without filtration. Within 24 hours, entire neighborhoods will be scavenging puddles, creeks, and even toxic runoff just to stay alive. And when people realize you have clean water, you don't just have hydration, you have leverage, and that makes you a target. Think beyond drinking. Water is necessary for cooking, sanitation, wound cleaning, even mixing medicine. A family of 4 burns through 28 gallons a week at bare minimum, and that's assuming zero waste. Multiply that need across weeks or months, and suddenly your secret water stash feels very small and very exposed. Protecting it means decentralization and stealth. Don't keep all your jugs in the garage where a desperate neighbor can spot them. Hide water in closets, under beds, or even buried in sealed barrels outdoors. Rainwater collection is critical, but keep it out of sight. Gutters leading into barrels scream preparedness to anyone passing by. And above all, learn purification. A water filter, bleach tablets, or even DIY methods like solar stills can transform unsafe water into survival. In a collapsed society, water will be more valuable than fuel, food, or medicine. People can beg for medicine, barter for food, but when thirst claws their throats, morality collapses. Protect your water like your life depends on it, because it absolutely does. When grocery shelves sit empty for weeks and supply chains grind to a halt, even your most friendly neighbors will turn into scavengers. In 2022, the average U.S. household spent 11% of its income on food, the highest in over 3 decades, and that was before inflation, crop failures, and global instability tightened their grip. In a blackout, all those fragile systems shatter, and suddenly a single can of beans is worth more than a paycheck. But here's the nightmare. Food is bulky, hard to hide, and incredibly easy to notice. The smell of cooking rice drifts through walls. The sight of garbage bags filled with packaging tips off watchful eyes. And when hunger gnaws at bellies, subtlety vanishes. Your neighbors will remember the time they saw you unloading bulk bags of flour, or that Costco haul of canned goods. Protecting food means secrecy and discipline. Store it in unmarked containers. Hide it in plain sight like flour sealed in paint buckets or cans tucked inside boxes labeled Christmas lights. Never flaunt it, never cook openly, and rotate your stockpile to prevent spoilage. Balance your supply with calorie-dense staples: rice, beans, pasta, peanut butter, powdered milk, and canned meats. These aren't just shelf-stable, they're survival grade. And don't ignore vitamins. Scurvy and malnutrition killed sailors long before hunger did. Supplements, dried fruits, and multivitamins can prevent disease when fresh produce disappears. Food will become the ultimate currency, the final fortress, the one thing no one can live without. And when the blackout stretches into weeks, every knock at your door becomes a test. Are they asking, or are they taking? Guard your food not just as a resource, but as the last line between survival and starvation. When the blackout drags on, survival won't just come down to what you've stored, it'll come down to how well you protect it. Neighbors you once trusted may see your supplies as their last chance, and hesitation could cost you everything. Guard what's yours, stay quiet, stay disciplined, and remember, preparedness isn't paranoia, it's survival. If you're serious about staying one step ahead, hit that subscribe button now, because the fight to protect your future starts today.